say here when I call your name. Freddie Brown.
Here.
Freddie Brown's here. Jessica Brown.
Here.
Jessica Brown's here. Renee Brown. Gary Friedman. David Grice.
Here.
David Grice is here. Katura Herring.
Here.
Katura Herring's here. Kevin Holston.
Here.
Kevin Holston's here. Joni Jenkins.
Here.
Joni Jenkins is here. Angela Johnson.
Here.
Angela Johnson's here. Maddie Jones. Zenobia Law.
Here.
Zenobia Law is here. David Lopez.
Here.
David Lopez is here. Madison Mobus.
Here.
Madison Mobus is here. Kungu Jaguna.
Here.
Kungu Jaguna is here. Rose Smith. Andre Verona. Jack Will.
Here.
Jack Will is here. Next, I'm going to call the institutional organizations. Please say here and your name when I call your organization. JCPS.
Mansell Elam, Executive Administrator.
Can you say that one more time? Sorry.
Mansell Elam, Executive Administrator.
Mansell Elon's here. Later. Jefferson County Court System.
Here. McKay Chavan.
McKay Chavan is here for Jefferson County Court System. Department of Public Advocacy. Jefferson County Attorney's Office. Metro Council. Commonwealth Attorney's Office.
Here, Elizabeth Jones Brown.
Elizabeth Jones Brown is here for the Commonwealth Attorney's Office. Department of Juvenile Justice.
Cassie Candy.
Cassie Dandy is here for the Department of Juvenile Justice.
Thank you, Mr. Tribune. We have a quorum. We will proceed. Before we get into our agenda today, I want to introduce everybody to our newest Community Safety Commission member. Kevin Holston has been appointed to the Open Community Representative seat. He's representing LMPD Division 6. Mr. Holston, would you like to take a couple of seconds to introduce yourself and tell everybody what you do and what neighborhood you're from? And Mr. Tribune, could you get him a microphone, please?
Very nice to meet you. I'm Kevin Holston, born and raised here in Louisville, Kentucky, with that story from that migration from the West End to the East End. I won't give my age, but I'm a Virginia Avenue Elementary School student before I became Jesse R. Carter, and moved out to Seneca High School, is where I graduated from. And I look forward to participating here, and I think this is valuable work. That's why I was very pleased when I received that notification to commit back to the city. I've lived many years in Atlanta, so moving back in 2020 during the pandemic is an opportunity for me to see the city that I know and love, and have always visited and back and forth, but now to see the city in a different light, and I want to bring that perspective to the group.
Thank you very much and welcome. Before we move on, I would like to give the mic to our JCPS representative. Mansell Elon is here. Would you like to introduce yourself, sir?
My name is Mansell Elam. I'm here representing my boss, Dr. Matthew Anderson, who recently had brain surgery. And so, what my role is, we support our violence prevention team, our DPP team. So we do a lot of, provide a lot of resources to our schools. And so any way we can support our schools, support our students, our victims, our offenders who are gun involved, we do anything we can to support our students. Thank you.
Thank you for being here. All right, let's go over our agenda for the day. All right, we did the roll call. We're going to approve some minutes. We're going to get an update from LMPD, an update from the independent monitor, Alifa. Then we're going to circle back on something that this commission said they wanted to do, which is create a subcommittee on safe gun storage. We'll come back to do that if the commission still would like to do so. Then we will move on to some community commitment messaging. We have some of the mayor's communications team here today. They've prepared some preliminary materials for your review and comment. So we'll get your feedback on that. We'll take a quick break. And then we'll come back and discuss the survey results from the survey that the vast majority of you filled out. Thank you for filling it out. And we'll decide where to go from here in terms of meeting format, frequency, duration, topics, and how we're going to make the commission work best for everyone. Then we'll have a quick subcommittee report. And finally, we'll go to other business, which essentially will be agenda setting for our next meeting. All right, let's approve some minutes. Is there a motion to approve the draft minutes from this commission's April 15, 2026 meeting?
So moved.
All right, right, Mr. Will moved, is there a second? All right, Ms. Brown second. Is there any discussion on this motion? All right, hearing no discussion, let's take a vote. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And all opposed, say nay. The ayes have it, the minutes are approved. And now let's get into some updates from LMPD. In your survey feedback, a lot of you mentioned that you would like to hear more from LMPD as it relates to things that are currently relevant in the news. Incidents that happen, policies that may be topics of discussion. And in that vein, we have Deputy Chief McKinley here today to speak a bit about what their crisis response, mental health crisis response looks like right now. And I'll turn it over to her. Take it away.
Thank you, Misty. First, thanks for having me. It's always good to speak to this group. I always enjoy hearing and engaging with you all and the questions that you all have. So feel free to ask questions after this. I hope to provide enough information, but I'm going to, I think this could be a lengthy presentation, and it's not going to be. So there is a lot of stuff that you still might have questions about. So feel free to ask those questions or follow up via email. Happy to give a bigger presentation in the future if we need to do that. And I know that Jess Brown has already reached out about the mental health subcommittee, so I'm looking forward to getting you some information regarding mental health students. So first, I want to talk about how LMPD is trained when it comes to crisis response. I'm also going to talk about how we work with deflection, the mental states deflection program, what are the criteria for that. And then I'm going to give some stats and data when it comes as it results with our response to mental health calls and any sort of use of force in those calls. So first, every LMPD officer receives CIT training in the academy. So there is a certified CIT course. It's a 40-hour course, and that is given to every LMPD recruit in the academy. And so that course goes over recognizing behavioral health crises. It goes over communication skills, de-escalation skills, understanding various mental illnesses and different resources that would be available to people experiencing crisis. So every LMPD recruit goes through that, and that has been in place for over 20 years, nearly 20 years. I went through that same course when I was a recruit in the academy. And what's unique about LMPD is we provide that to every recruit. Not every police department does that. There are several police departments, large city police departments in the United States that do not provide CIT training to every officer. And one of the reasons why we felt that it was necessary to do that, if you go back more than 20 years within LMPD, the CIT course was provided to certain officers. And we realized that every officer was responding to runs and interacting with people who were experiencing mental health crisis. And we knew that it was important for every officer to have this training and have this ability to recognize and handle instances where there are mental health crises in the streets or in runs that they might encounter. So that's why we switched to every recruit, and so every officer is trained in CIT. There is an advanced CIT course that is offered through the state. The state offers that course once a year, and we do send officers to that course. There's probably less than 20 officers on our department right now who have had that advanced training. A lot of them are in our hostage negotiation team, our HST team, so they have that advanced training. We share that course with the rest of the state. So one of the challenges is getting seats in that course. But what we are doing right now, and this is one of the things that we are working on, and one of the things that's in the community commitment, we are working on getting that advanced training within our own academy. So working with Dr. Lederman, with the mayor's office, the director of behavioral health from the mayor's office, getting some curriculum that she develops that would be equal to the advanced CIT training, and having her and others teach that within our own academy, offering it to LMPD officers, so we can get more officers trained in advanced CIT response. So that is one thing that we are working on right now. Additionally, every year officers are required to take 40 hours of in-service training. And in that in-service training every year, we incorporate de-escalation skills in ICAT. So ICAT stands for Integrated Communications and Tactics. And it is a decision-making model that helps officers recognize people in crisis and use tactical communication, so communicating in a way to de-escalate situations, providing scenario-based training in our in-service training every year. And we do that in the classroom, and we do that on the firearms range, as far as providing scenario training and decision-making courses for officers. And that happens every year, again, 40 hours of training every year that every officer receives. We talk about the deflection program a little bit. So Metro Safe, with partnership with 7 counties, built the deflection program. So within the deflection program, there are crisis triage workers, and there's a mobile crisis response team. So the crisis triage workers are essentially call takers, or not call takers, but they are people who sit in the call taking room, the 911 center, and take calls and talk to people over the phone. So they de-escalate people in crisis over the phone and provide resources over the phone. The mobile crisis response team is a team that would respond to people in crisis if it is deemed safe enough for a mobile crisis responder to respond in person to somebody in crisis. The calls that are not eligible for a CTW or a mobile crisis response worker are calls where an individual is in possession of a weapon. The person is intoxicated or has overdosed to the extent where there is some sort of medical need, so they need to send EMS. They are attempting to hurt themselves or threatening to hurt others. The person is known to be violent already, or is already injured due to some sort of self-harm, or when the person has committed a violent crime. So in situations like that, the MetroSafe is not going to divert that call to a CTW. They are also not going to divert that call to a mobile crisis response team. That call is either going to go to police, EMS, or a combination of police and EMS based on the situation at hand. In 2025, so last year, 4,923 calls were diverted to the CTWs. So nearly 5,000 calls were sent to the CTWs in 2025. Another 937 calls were sent to mobile crisis response workers, where a mobile crisis response worker went out and engaged with the consumer or the person in crisis. So if you add those up, those are about 6,000 calls that prior to the deflection program would have been handled by LMPD or EMS, or a combination of the two. So in just last year, taking the 6,000 calls off of police was an extreme help with reducing the calls for service that police do respond to when it comes to crisis response. In 2025, LMPD responded to 3,235 crisis calls. So those are 3,235 calls that did not qualify for the CTW or the mobile crisis response. That means that these are calls where people are armed, they have attempted to harm themselves or others, they are a danger to themselves or others, they're threatening suicide, or they are overdosing or intoxicating to the point that there is some sort of medical intervention needed, or they've committed a violent crime. So these calls are already very high risk, and these are calls that most of the time are being responded to by police. Of those 3,235 calls, only 81 of them involved any sort of use of force by a police officer. And of those 81 incidents involving force, 69 were empty hand control techniques, meaning they were either some sort of control hold by the officer or some sort of takedown by the officer just using an empty hand control, so 69 of the 81. So that leaves 12 left that involve some other type of use of force. 5 of them involve taser. So again, of the 3,235 crisis calls, there were 5 incidents that involved the use of a taser. There were 7 that were other use of force options, so that could be whether it was some sort of closed fist or some sort of strike or OC spray. Those are other types of force. So only 12 of those incidents involve force beyond empty hand control. If you add all of that up, it's 0.3% of the 3,235 crisis calls that LMPD used any sort of force beyond empty hand control last year, all of last year. Just to give a picture of the vast amount of mental health calls that our officers respond to and when force is used in those calls. And when we talk about injuries, so a lot of times we also track when officers are injured, we track when the consumer is injured as well. So in those 3,235 calls, there were 8 total injuries, that includes officers. 5 were consumers and 3 were officers. They were all minor injuries. Again, this was last year. So again, 99.7% of the over 3,000 calls that LMPD responded to last year involving someone in a mental health crisis resulted in no injury to anyone whatsoever. Resulted in all of people getting the help that they needed and the help that they deserve. We're always looking for ways to improve our response. And I know that, there can be 2 truths here. The use of force in any police encounter definitely needs to be scrutinized and investigated and reported. And it also can be true that the overwhelming majority of police encounters end safely for everyone. And we are always looking for ways to improve our response. One of the things that we are doing, in addition to the class with Dr. Lederman, the advanced CIT class, we are discussing different ideas for some sort of co-responder model. We talked about it briefly with Metro Council during our budget hearing, but using our technology that's available to us and our body camera videos, as far as our live view in our body cam videos on active runs, getting input from psychologists during a lab incident, getting that feedback to officers in real time could be one of the things that could help us in the future to help these runs even more, be successful even more than they are. We currently have psychologists on our H&T team, so we have psychologists that deploy with our hostage negotiation team, and they give feedback and insight to the officers and the hostage negotiators as they're having dialogue with the person that they're trying to get to surrender. And so using that technology and that concept to officers on high-risk runs through the use of our body cam video is one of the things that we are looking at doing in the future. With that, I will open it up for questions or this.
Thank you, Deputy Chief. What questions do people have for Deputy Chief McKinley about behavioral health response?
So that in 2025, that's a review of 2025,
Yes, sir.
is that data made public? Do you have any, because I was imagining a decision tree that needs to be presented that could really make that valuable to people to see both sides.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. So finding a way to have some sort of dashboard or public data when it comes to our mental health crisis response, I think could be something that would be helpful for us and will be helpful for the community when we're speaking, so that we're all on the same page. Yes, I think that that's a great idea.
Well, thanks for that information, and I do like to give credit. Something I said to the former chief when Amber and I used to meet with her is the CIT numbers are what we want to see. Like, you all respond to thousands of those, as I reckon, like almost year after year, very few injuries, and most of those people do not enter the criminal justice system. So I do want to give credit for that. Like, that is something I think you all haven't done enough messaging on, quite honestly, so I do want to give that. But obviously, there's always room for improvement. One of the things I would like to ask, because we know the Crisis Center is opening, and I know there was a commitment at the Nehemiah Center, like, and I think it was 90 days from opening, but have we started drafting those policies to make sure people are going there? And I know there'll be hiccups and stuff, but it'd be nice to know, like, where we are.
Right, so I just spoke with Jean Romano today about that. So she is coming to meet with one of our staff meetings here in the next few weeks to give an overview of the structure of the center, how it's gonna work, how officers need, what the process that they're gonna encounter when they get there. So once we receive that from her, then we will work on developing those policies. But yes, in the next few weeks, we have a meeting set up with them to go over that.
My question is there a criteria, well, first of all, do all officers in certain positions carry the weapon for a taser? And I know a lot of use of force is obviously very split decision, but is there a criteria and change in training of when to use it, when to go to a taser versus other types of force?
So the question about who carries tasers first. So every sergeant and below carries a taser, so all officers and sergeants have tasers. It is optional for a lieutenant or above. Most of lieutenants are above or generally in an office administrative role. So it is optional for a lieutenant above to carry a taser, but all officers and sergeants have tasers. As far as training on when to switch from one to the other, yes, there is training on, if you have a lethal weapon on you, when to holster and then maybe transition to a less lethal weapon. And we do go through that during firearms training, as well as during ground fighting training, when to disengage from on the ground with somebody, and if you're able to disengage safely and then go to a taser or transition to some other weapon. But there is training on when to transition, not just from taser to firearm, but from firearm to taser or to other types of force.
I know you're working on new standard operating procedures regarding the use of force, and I'm wondering where we are in that process. Sort of anticipated it would have happened by now, but if you could give us an idea of when those standard operating procedures will be enforced.
So the new standard operating procedures for use of force, so we just sent back to Alifa last week our final draft, and so they have 14 days to give their feedback on our final policy draft, and then we would then be able to start the process of implementing that within our department. There's some training that's gonna be required when we have a new policy, so we are in the process of developing some online training, through some video training for officers to understand some of the new things that are gonna come out in that policy. So we'll deploy that training. Once that training is deployed and received by everyone, we'll post the policy. The policy's posted for 10 days, and then it's active after 10 days. So right now, we're just waiting from Alifa on their feedback from that final draft.
Two questions. On the training, once an officer's trained, do they get additional retraining? And then the second question is, did you have any 2026 data? Is it trending similar? How's 2026 looking?
Yes.
Okay.
The training, yes, we are trained annually. So we qualify with our firearm twice a year. So we have firearm qualifications in the spring and the fall. One of those usually consists with a nighttime qualification. So not that it's done at night, but it's done in the dark. So the range is completely dark, and we have to use our flashlight or other ways to use our firearm. There's also a 2-hour decision-making course that the officers go through every year when it comes to firearms training, and that usually consists of the officer starting off in a vehicle, responding to some sort of stimulus, and this is all in our firing range, responding to some sort of stimulus, exiting the vehicle, this is again all timed. There's usually some sort of barriers the officer has to navigate, and then to look at targets and decide whether the target, if it's a threat or not a threat. There's usually a picture of someone holding something. It might be a weapon, it might not. So there's some decision-making skills that has to happen there. And we do that where the officer's under some stress. So there's time involved, there's some stimulus involved, whether that's sound or people yelling. So we do that sort of course as far as decision-making goes. And then every officer is trained every year in ground fighting, so jiu-jitsu ground fighting training. And then there's scenario-based training, responding to some sort of call for service where someone is suicidal, there's a weapon nearby, and the officer's having to talk them down. And we use officers or actor officers who are responding to how the trainee officer is giving them cues. And so some of those scenarios might end peacefully and with no force, and some of them, if the officer doesn't perform well, it might escalate. And so we're trying to train that officer to make different decisions in different scenario-based trainings. So that happens every year. As far as 2026 data, I guess I have that. In 2025, at this time last year, so I looked at January through May of both years, so 25 and 26. In 2025, we responded to 13,347 crisis calls at this point. This year, we responded to 1,392, so about 50 more this year, I guess. This year, we have had 36 incidents where there has been force used, and coincidentally, that was the same number as it was last year, 36. Of those, the use of force beyond the empty hand control for last year, this time, was 0.59%. This year, it is 0.72%. I do recognize that we have had 2 deadly force encounters in 2 of these situations this year, so that is included in that 0.7% this year.
Does anyone else have questions for Deputy Chief McKinley? Maybe somebody who doesn't speak very often? No? Okay, well, thank you, Deputy Chief. I think, the commission members may ask for some additional information on this as we move forward. And if you all do want to know more about a particular topic within the topics that Deputy Chief McKinley discussed today, please send an email to Genevieve first, and we'll make sure that we incorporate that into an agenda in the future. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we were going to have a 5-minute update from Alifa. We went a little bit over with Deputy Chief McKinley, so I'm gonna ask that we table that update from Alifa for today. I will tell you that we are on track to have the annual report to discuss at our next meeting. It will be all Alifa, all day, when we have our next meeting. So you will have as much engagement as you want with them. And I think it would be more substantive to move on to our updates. Our next step, which is creating the ad hoc subcommittee on safe gun storage.
All right, so let's move on to that then. During our last meeting, many of you said you wanted to establish a subcommittee on safe gun storage. This subcommittee would have a very specific mandate, and that is to design and recommend a safe gun storage campaign, educational campaign with the various components. What sorts of materials would be needed in terms of giveaway of gun locks? What kinds of messaging is needed? a full kind of evaluation of what that could look like and recommendation to the administration. We would expect the subcommittee to consider safe storage at home and in vehicles, because we see a lot of thefts of firearms from vehicles. That's a specific issue that we need to address. And we would expect that the subcommittee would do some homework to study other cities' efforts, what has worked, what has not, and as well as what Louisville has done, and we could facilitate getting you some information on what Louisville has done thus far through Project Child Safe. So, is this something that you all still want to do? Do I have a motion to create this subcommittee?
I've got a question.
Of course, Senator.
Thank you, and I apologize if this has already been asked or answered. I haven't been here, this is, I think, my first meeting since the first one, because we were in session. When you just talked about the goal of the subcommittee, is that something that this group came up with, or is that something that you all came up with as far as the direction and the goal of what the subcommittee would do?
This is a combination, so we kind of discussed the issue of the problems with enacting gun laws locally and the limitations that we have in that. And in that context, what can we do to promote safe gun storage if we can't legislate it? What are some options? And so this group discussed public education campaigns, and we discussed what kind of gun law things have gone on in our city thus far. So I think that the genesis of the idea came from the group. The specific mandate is something that I'm presenting for you for your consideration.
Just as a follow-up, I would push back to the whole group a little bit and say that, you know, we are leaders in the community. The mayor specifically asked us, or we applied to serve in this capacity, and I think that as a group, that if we're really going to take this on, that we have to be a little bit bolder and courageous, and look at policy as well. I know that we technically don't, as a body, have the authority to create policy, but as leaders, we have an ability to use our influence to push other policymakers to act. And so I would just ask that as we're moving forward, just in general with this group, that we are a little bit bolder in our charge.
Thank you, Senator. Does anyone else have thoughts on what the Senator just said?
I just want to say quickly, for point of clarification, while you may not be able to set policy directly, though we want your recommendations to help shape what LMPD does. So I completely agree. Just want to add that we do in fact want your recommendations.
I would agree with your comments, but I would also look at, you know, a campaign on safe gun storage. If it's straightforward and there's enough of it, would hopefully get the citizenry to approach, whether it's Metro Council, state legislature, or whatever. So I see it complementing those people that are trying to promote policy in this area. I see the two.
Several years back, when Jim Wayne was still a state representative here in Jefferson County, he asked me to work with him on a safe gun storage piece of legislation. That piece of legislation was drafted so that there were criminal penalties, like Class B misdemeanor or something like that, as we move forward. But never got a hearing. Never got a hearing, never went anywhere. That was the end of that. And so I think we should try to do whatever we can here as far as making a lot of noise about it. And there was a gentleman that was behind that too at the time. He had a grandson that got killed in the living room of the house with a gun that had been not stored. And he never even got to address the legislature about his story as it related to gun inventory. So on the state level, my humble opinion, nobody gets it down about gun storage or anything else related. But that's for another day. But we can make a lot of noise here locally.
And I think that that's my point. I think.
Sorry, Senator, we have to have the mic so that
Okay,
folks
got
who
it.
join online can hear you.
Thank you, and I think that is the point, that we have to do both and. And as a state senator who is in Frankfurt, we have other elected officials who are in Frankfurt that are your elected officials that we are their constituency base. And also the mayor has the ability that every year he has a policy platform. And all I am saying is that if we are going to be serious, if we want community to take this group serious, we have to do both and be bold. And I can have a private conversation with the mayor, but for me as someone who's super busy, this group should not only be looking at programs, we have to start looking at policy, whether it's local and state. We have the relationships, the mayor has the relationships, and I just urge us to be a little bit bolder and a little bit more courageous if we are really serious about changing what is happening in our community.
Thank you for those comments. So here's what I would suggest, because part of the feedback that we got from your surveys was you wanted more direction, a clear goal. You wanted to hear from the administration as to what we need. So that is part of what we're trying to do for you today with respect to this subcommittee. Give you a clear goal of what we need. We need a public awareness campaign. We need people to know how to safely store their gun, why it matters. We need to spread it among communities that need it the most. We need people to actually do it. So here's what I would suggest. What I'll pose to you is the question of whether we form a subcommittee on this topic with a mandate of, at a minimum, creating a public awareness campaign, education campaign for people to learn why they need to safely store their gun, how to safely store their gun, and to grab people's attention to that. And then to the extent that that subcommittee is willing and able, we would love for you guys to take on policy recommendations and additional work beyond that. I just want to make sure that you're getting something that is doable and something that you can break off and act on quickly. So what do people think about that? Any feedback on that? Hearing no feedback, I'm just gonna assume you all love the idea. So I'll put it out to you for a vote, or pardon me, I'll put it out for a motion. Does anybody move to create this subcommittee on safe gun storage?
I'll so move.
All right, Mr. Will, and is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, Ms. Bobus, thank you very much. Any further discussion before we vote on establishing the subcommittee? Sir.
Just a question. I put this because I'm new. So this came about, as I heard you, your mix from this committee and from ideas from what other body on safe gun storage being an important subcommittee to look at policy and practice. Who was that other body?
Louisville Metro Government.
And Louisville Metro Government. Who, within the history thus far of this committee, who do we benchmark? I grew up here, lived in Atlanta, back here. We're a big, small city. We're different than Indianapolis, we're different than Cincinnati. I mean, who are we looking at to evaluate, compare, and contrast? I don't understand, I'm not gonna vote for Sungation safe gun storage. I don't know enough about the success of those types of programs. I'm just asking, it's an inquiry. So is this something that people are really gung-ho about? And it was brought because some analysis was done, some comparisons were done, that this is really something that's going to benefit us? I'm new, so I'm gonna ask you questions.
Sure, so it was discussed at moderate length at prior meetings as something that people thought on the committee was necessary. As to the efficacy of other cities' programs and plans, I would leave that to the subcommittee to take a look at and decide what is effective and what should be implemented here in Louisville. Any further discussion?
I guess just one last comment about the creation of the subcommittee is that as a member of a different subcommittee, we have the ability to create our own purpose. Would this also apply for this subcommittee as well? So that those who want to join this subcommittee can determine, maybe there's a couple of folks that do safe storage, there's a couple of people that do the policy piece, because I just want, if we're gonna create a subcommittee, my comment would be to make sure that the right people with the right talents
and knowledge could join that subcommittee. And that would be kind of clear about that.
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
And for the record, we did have, Mr. O'Connell and, Ms. Verona join us in their present.
I'm also kind of questioning this as well now that everyone's kind of discussed it. And so it almost seems like there needs to be a policy-related subcommittee and something related to awareness initiatives. Because I think a lot of us are looking at least I've kind of heard, and I know we discussed in our subcommittee around, like, how do we spread awareness, what does that look like? And that's possible that other people in their committees are also doing the same thing, and it sounds like that this is where this kind of also came from, or where we're leaning toward is how do we spread awareness about, safe gun storage? So maybe it's that we should be looking at two different types of subcommittees, possibly.
Okay. It sounds like from the group that there may be some varying opinions as it relates to this topic that have changed a bit since the last time we discussed this topic, which is absolutely fine. But I want to make sure we don't get bogged down and that you guys have time to consider the rest of the content of the meeting. So I think what we can do is follow up, and perhaps we table the vote today. We follow up, get some more feedback from you, and then present it at our next gathering. Is everybody all right with that? I see some head nods. I don't see anyone who's very mad. So all right, then in that case, let's keep rolling. Our next topic is community commitment messaging, and to speak to you about that, we have two members of the mayor's communications team, Josh Minke and Jody Hamilton, and they will present some ideas to help CSC members get the word out about the community commitment, and they'll present, and then we'll break out into some smaller groups to get some concrete feedback to our comms team. Great.
Well, hello and good afternoon. Thank you so much for having us today. We are very excited to share this information with you. I'm Jody Hamilton, part of Mayor Greenberg's communications team.
And I'm Josh Dinke. I'm part of Office of Violence Prevention. I also do work in the Mayor's Comms team as well. We've heard that a lot of you want more specific messaging to tell the community what it is you're doing, and that's a little bit of what we've got going on here today.
So here we are with this. Next slide, please. And we just kind of talked about what we're doing here, what the message is going to be. And we have broken that down for you. So if you all look in your packets, there is something here in writing, and it says 8-day CSC social media content calendar. So if you will pull that out, you all can follow along. The next slide, please. So what we've done with this social media messaging is we have just kind of come up with 8 slides and also language for each slide. And we've given you a graphic that you'll post, because basically with these 8, what you're going to be doing, you're going to be telling a story, right? You're going to be telling the story of what the Community Safety Commission is. So very first thing, what is it? And this is just a little bit of information that you can share about that and the messaging to go along with that. So depending upon if you are using Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, or X, there's different messaging for different platforms. And so for each day, you're gonna take number 1, that photo, and take it with a copy and information here for day 1. And that's what you'll do. So this would be the first thing that you post. Does anyone have any questions on posting for various platforms, and then the photo to go along with it? Any questions about that? Yes.
Are you considering the people that you're asking to post, are they posting on their personal, or is it like through an actual page that represents the full community?
Well, and so Could you repeat that question, please?
Here, Jody, sorry, let me grab it back. Sorry, at this time, we're gonna limit the questions to members of the Community Safety Commission. We got a long agenda to get through, so if any of you guys have questions, go for it. But I'm sure Ms. Hamilton will say later if anybody else has questions.
Yes, just any questions. The message is first in English or any other language?
We can post in Spanish if you would like to do that, absolutely. Yeah, perfecto. So, any other questions about the slide that goes with the picture? Yes, ma'am.
I just wanted to go back to her question because am I putting that on my personal page, the
You
church
can
page,
put it
the
on, as far as
organization?
I know, you can put it on your personal page, you can put it on your organization's page, and that's why we created messaging, so that we're all on the same thing, on the same page, and we're all saying the same thing, if that makes sense to everyone. Yeah. Okay, next slide, please.
So obviously, starting with what is the Community Safety Commission is a great start, but then what does the Community Safety Commission do? So again, if you look through your plan right here, we've got several different versions. We discussed the key important things you're doing: receiving public reports, reviewing the progress with the community commitment, working with the Safe Louisville plan. That's the short version of what it is that you guys are doing. So you see the different formats for that each day. We also have up here, you've got obviously the first slide, which has the picture, but we also have the second slides accompanying all of these, and you have the option to post as well. This gives you another graphic version of how to say what you've got within your packet right there. My personal recommendation would be to generally stick with just the first one and have the copy of your caption tell the story of what you're doing. Use this to draw people in, and then you've got the descriptor below. But this is also an option as well, and you will have this in the in your materials later for today.
Perfect, next slide, please. So continuing on with telling the story, the community commitment. I mean, obviously, that is a big thing that we went through, that we created, that we, are still in process of doing, right? And so again, as Josh said, we have the graphic over right here to the right that you would use, and then your copy that goes along with that. For slide number 3.
Next slide. Slide number 4. Next thing we're going to talk is the progress update. One of the biggest things that I know is working with you guys is the report outs from OLIFA. So essentially what this one's going to do is point towards the August report out date for that. So that is, I think, probably one of the most impactful updates as far as the work that you guys are doing. Next slide.
Transparency. Ha ha ha. So, transparency. When we talk about transparency, that was good.
Same shirt and everything.
Keep it consistent.
Consistency is good. Consistency is king. So when we talk about transparency, we talk about everything that you guys do. We talk about making sure that that's public knowledge. We talk about making sure that this is on Metro TV so that you're able to see that. The public is able to go out back and see that. And, the minutes are available publicly and the meetings are always open to the public. And so transparency is a big thing in this. So there is messaging around for day 5. And this is the graphic that we suggest you use. Do you approve of that, David? Okay. Great. Okay, next slide, please.
All right, next thing is the timeline. The folks who can, are just hearing about the commission might think, how long is this going to last? And we want folks to know that this work is just beginning. This is a multi-year effort that you guys are part of. So that is the key message that we want folks to take away from this slide, as well as the messaging on the different platforms that you have before you. Next slide.
Community representation. One thing that we thought it was very important to communicate is that if you see here, this is Louisville, and most of your smiling faces are on here, scattered throughout there. And we want to let the community know that this isn't just in the West End, or the East End, or the South End, or the north end. This is all over Louisville. And what we have here, we just have a visual representation of people all over the city and all the places that are represented.
And the very last thing we want is a call to action, call to the community that you guys can put out there. Essentially, we want more people to know about the work you're doing and to be able to participate, watch what's happening, come to you with any of their thoughts. That's an important part of the work that you're doing, is not just hearing from each other, but hearing from folks in your communities and being able to bring that to the forefront here today. So that is a little bit of what you'll find on that very last slide that you have there.
So this is us. We have included our emails here. So if you have questions about something or anything, relating to the copy or the messaging or the pictures or the graphics, you can email either of us directly. You have this in your packet as well. Also, another thing too is we have a link that has all of these graphics for you, and then we have another link that's just like a Word document, so you can copy and paste that information when you're ready to post on social media. Very easy.
Yeah, we want to make sure it was as easy as possible for you guys to access this information, so we'll have that for you.
So are there any other questions about this from the commission?
So I think if it's all right with you, we'll do the breakout groups.
Okay.
And get the feedback, and then everybody can come back and ask further questions and make suggestions. Does that work for you, Ms. Hamilton?
Yes.
All right.
I was going to say, Ms. Movis.
Ms. Movis, you have something that you want to do right now before we break out? Is that okay? All right, I want to make sure that they have time to substantively speak amongst each other. Okay, so we've got an uneven number, but if everybody who is on this side, except for Ms. Brown, if you guys can be a breakout group, Ms. Brown and the back row, if you guys could please be a group, and then everybody here on my left, your right, if you could please be a group and get close together. What we would like to do is take the next 10 minutes for you guys to look at these materials. You have the slides, the PowerPoint slides that will show you these graphics, and you have a copy of the copy for each of the social media platforms, and give us your feedback on whether this is useful to you, because this whole thing was generated from you guys saying it would be helpful to have some consistent messaging, some simple messaging that you can use when speaking to people. So if this is not useful for you, then we need to fix it. So if you could take the next 10 minutes, please, and discuss this, and then also in your discussion, if you could think about appropriate forums to be able to spread this word that you have in your daily lives or that you know of, because we tend to be running in the same circles and we tend to be speaking to people who already know what the community commitment is. So we'd like to get the word out. All right, I'll leave you alone for 10 minutes. Thank you.
I'm not sure. Somebody is really know what the community commitment is. I'm not sure it is.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
maybe that'll be
David wants to speak first.
He really looks like he wants to, doesn't
All right, now, we had several things that came up over here. One was the importance of maybe using links throughout the content, so that for folks that want to go deeper on any particular topic, such as the consent decree history or the commitment details, that they can click on that link and go to it and learn more. So let's not underestimate how much people might want to go into the details, and let's give them the links that make that additional detail accessible. And then two, another important point is around this table, we're gonna have some folks that are very active on social media and some folks who are not very active at all. And so providing 3 different options for how to engage with this campaign. One option is the 8-day option, if you're really active. One option is a 3-day, if you only post 3 things. These are the 3 things that we think you should post. And then even having a single day option, which is the just why you're serving or have accepted to serve on the commission. That is probably what most of us would be able to do and willing to do. And so let's give us a structured option for what we do if we're only gonna post 1 single day out of the 8 days. Anything else that you all wanna add?
Yeah, so one of the things we talked about on day 4, where it talks about progress update, or actually we talked about the timing of this. Right. The timing would be really good to connect when that report comes out by LIFA, so that we could even connect to the link and talk about real progress and have some real updates to show.
That was great, and that was super duper beneficial, because sometimes I forget, everyone doesn't post on social media several times a day, several days a week. I don't know why, but everyone does. So, moving on.
Thank you all. There was also an idea over here that I want to highlight of just like a very quick list of the topics that are in the community commitment, the topics of police reform, the various areas that will be considered. So we can put that together. That might be a bit wordy for some people, but I think that's worth putting together so that you can use it. Absolutely. All right, next group.
Hi, so our group had a couple feedback points. One was it would be great if maybe we could do like a quick reading it on a video. So like a little 15-second video instead of, copy pasting this, so we had the freedom to just read it and do a quick little video. That was a helpful suggestion from Josh for those of us that are less savvy. And then we also asked maybe if there was a contact person from the support staff that would be able to help us do that on our cell phone. We could maybe reach out for like a 10 or 15 minute technical assistance meeting to do that. We also talked about just a one singular post, so echoing that idea. We also talked about, is there an email version of this? So, because a lot of us in our professional context have listservs and things like that, so it's like, hey, I'm on the Safety Commission, this is what I do, reach out to me if you have any questions, here's a one-pager, or, what's a baked sort of email that we can forward to our lists, or a text version of the same thing. Cool, I think that's it.
Thank you, Ms. Brown. How about group number 3, Mr. Holston?
We spoke about that we could use benefit from an FAQ page that maybe we could redirect as we get responses back from individuals, and that an infographic could be beneficial, posted at library, shelters, halfway houses, use LinkedIn or other social media, and then also leverage what's on the Metro Council website. So this would be a lengthy post for the receive input questions.
And for the infographic that would be on the one page that you post, what information would go on there?
Others, I have ideas.
Just very general information about what the council is, or access points to draw their curiosity, to links maybe that they could, or ways that they could reach out and access more information. Things to get their interest, not necessarily overload them with information right then and there, but to invite them to be interested and to participate in their communities in ways that they could reach out to us or reach out to Metro Council directly and participate in ways that they could improve situations they know more about than we do. Because we volunteered for this and they didn't, maybe because they don't trust the situation or whatever reasons they might have, didn't know about it. Just an infographic to invite them to be curious. They don't need to be able to load of information right then and there because they might not have the capacity to absorb it.
All right, great. Well, thank you all so much. Oh, sorry.
I had one other question. For you, Mr. Kevin. You said something about information from Metro Council, sharing that information. Which information from Metro Council?
To Metro Council.
Oh, okay, I'm sorry, I missed that. To Metro, okay, got it. I just wanted to make sure I understood that. Thank you. Yep.
I think one of the other things to consider if you're doing a Facebook video is they only stay up and then they take those down.
If it's a
If it's
reel,
live.
they take it down after 30 days, but if you just do pardon me, I'm sorry, Mr. Frederick. If you do a reel like that, it stays up, but if there are certain videos, there are different parameters for different things, so.
So we'll put on our to-do list explaining that piece, right?
Yes,
Okay.
we will add that onto the to-do list, and I really love the feedback, and I'm so glad that everyone just kind of got really real about it. Most people aren't gonna do 8 posts over 8 days, 8 weeks, 8 whatever. But the one post really, here's my why. What's your why? Why are you on the community safety committee? I think that that's more attainable for people. Maybe even a 3 post, I don't know. But definitely I love the infographic, because the infographic could be everything that we need. And it could be one post like that. Here's this, here's what it is, and this is my why. So that's great feedback, so thank you all.
Yeah, thanks everybody for participating in that. What we will do is we will debrief after this and get all of your notes to the comms team to do some revised drafts and some additional materials that need to be prepared. We will reach out to anybody who wants to do a reading video, which I love that idea. And you could, alter the text as you see fit for whatever is your normal style. Mr. Ninke here can facilitate getting that, assisting you making that video and posting it if you need that. So we'll email out after this meeting with some revised materials that everybody can use. And I love the idea of keying it to the release of the independent monitor report, because that gives us a little bit of time to finalize everything.
It
So,
does.
Thanks everyone.
And then I just wanted to say to you, I know you said if you needed some help. So for Josh and I, these are our email addresses. Please reach out to us directly and we'll connect and we will give you any support you need with this. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll give everyone a second to get back to their seats. All right, we are back. We are going to skip our 5-minute break because we are approximately 18 minutes over where we should be. And I want to make sure we are being respectful of everyone's time. And I think it's important to discuss our community's CSC survey results, which once again, I wanna thank everyone for taking the time to fill it out. We really appreciate it. This decision to do a survey is something that we wanna do regularly. This is a community commitment. It is, we are grounded in the recommendations and requirements of the community commitment, but we are malleable and movable when it comes to how the commission works. And part of that is not making decisions in a vacuum and listening to the commission members themselves. So that is where the idea for this survey came from. It was incredibly helpful. We really appreciate everyone filling it out. You received earlier this week, or maybe Friday, I can't remember exactly what day, you should receive a PDF. Did we send it out? Yes. The PowerPoint of the survey results itself. We broke it down into minutia, like the number of people that filled it out anonymously versus people who filled it out. I mean, we really broke it out. We wanted to make this available, all of this information publicly available. There's nothing to hide. I am not going to go through verbatim all of the survey results just because I don't think it would be a valuable use of your time. However, I do want to talk about several of the results that I think are pertinent to how we move forward and getting your feedback on that. So the first one I want to start with is rate how much you agree with the following statement. I understand the purpose of the Community Safety Commission. As you can see from the breakdown here, most people agreed, a few strongly agreed, 2 disagreed, they were neutral and unsure. I think for the purposes of this commission, if the people on the commission don't understand, even if it's just a small group, that's important that we address that. That's something that we need to fix and work on within. So I just wanted to make a note of that and note that that is one of the more substantive things that came out from the survey. Preparing before each commission meeting, I mean, by and large, it seems like commission members feel that they are prepared, which is a positive. And I want to note that there was a lot of positives that came out of this. We will talk about some opportunities for change that also came out of it, but there was a lot of positive, which was heartening to hear. This is overall, how satisfied are you with the current meeting format? Somewhat satisfied, neither satisfied nor dissatisfied. That's one of the points of discussion, is what we can do to change the formatting so when we do the survey result, this result is higher. Length of the meetings, just right, which was surprising to hear, but a positive. I'm glad we were glad to hear that. The time set for meetings could be used more efficiently. That is another pressure point that we can discuss. The agendas are clear and organized. Strongly agree, which was heartening to hear. We will continue in that vein. This is where we kind of get into, again, substantive. Rate how much you agree with the following. Doing meetings, there's enough time allotted for meaningful discussion. Strongly disagree, neutral, unsure, some agree. We want to course correct. We want that number to be higher when it comes enough time allotted for meaningful discussion. So that is another thing that we will be discussing with you, but also making changes based on that discussion and on the survey results, so that we can provide more time for a meaningful discussion. So when we do a word cloud on what changes to meeting format, location, or structure would improve participation, honestly, the biggest things that came out of it was more time for discussion, fewer topics per meeting, improving accessibility. That one is a little bit of a trickier one, actually, just for the purposes of how large this meeting is, making sure it's public, something that the public can assess. And we will work on it from the Louisville Metro government perspective, but if you have references or recommendations, we really want to hear from you on that. I have meaningful opportunities to ask questions during commission meetings. There was a lot of agreement, which was good, but we also want to make sure that that is a pressure point where we see that there was some disagreement or neutral, unsure. We want to make sure we provide you with that information. The facilitation of meeting allows a range of perspectives to be heard. As you can see from here, mostly agreed, but there was some disagreement and neutral, unsure. Now, here's where we get into, I think, a bigger point for us, what would make commission discussions more substantive or useful. I think this speaks to Senator Herring's point earlier and what we heard in the survey results. Make discussions more actionable and outcome-based, ensure balanced participation, and focus on specific issues, data, and problem solving, which what we heard, we sort of knew, but it was good to see that written out and hear from our commission members on that. The presentations made to the commission so far have been helpful to me being effective in my role as commission member. Neutral, unsure, disagree, we had some agreement, but we want that number to be lower when it comes to neutral or unsure. So that's another thing that we will be working on together. This is minutia. I think, I don't wanna, we will look at this, but this isn't, I think, as substantive, as important to discuss as the more substantive concerns. When it comes to topics, mental health response, trauma and youth violence prevention were big ones. Specific program updates like Safe Louisville, GBI, real-time issues and concrete data on community safety outcomes. And so just to note, Deputy Chief McKinley being here was a result of the survey results, and it was stating that he wanted to hear that. So we will have regular, at each meeting, have LMPD provide an update. And that is something that was a direct result of reading the survey results and hearing people, reading what people said in terms of wanting specific updates. I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit. This is, rate how much you agree with the following statement. I understand the role of the commission with respect to the community commitment and the independent monitor. Frankly, I'm glad that we had agreed, but there should be no neutral or disagree on here. And that says that the commission and Louisville Metro government, we need to do a better job on making sure that people understand what their role is, which speaks to the first survey result. How useful have the independent monitor reports or updates been? Somewhat useful, extremely useful, not useful, moderately useful. We will be speaking with the independent monitor about this, but I also do want to give some grace in that they have not had their annual report yet. That comes out in August. We will be doing surveys again. So after this, we can determine what additional changes need to be made to make sure that these reports are actually useful for this group. I feel this goes to another, I think, pressure point that is important to discuss, but also for change long-term. Rate how much you agree with the following statement. I feel that the subcommittees that have been created are needed to do important work. Most agree, but there's some neutral, unsure, strongly disagree, and we want to drill down on that and make sure that you're actually doing work that you feel is substantive when it comes to the subcommittees. So finally, overall, how satisfied are you with your service on the Community Safety Commission? Somewhat satisfied. We have some disagreement, and some very satisfied, which I'm pleased to hear. But we want to make sure that this number is larger when it comes to satisfied or somewhat satisfied when we do the survey result again. And I think that speaks to the changes that we want to discuss today and get your feedback on, so that we can make this number higher and that the commission is actually doing the work that it's tasked to in the community commitment itself. And this is, I think this is, we can talk about that later, or you can just read about it, but overall, I mean, there's a lot of positives. There's strong facilitation organization. There's a lot of diverse representation, helpful information. This was all provided in the survey results. But before we drill down on what changes can be made, what course corrections need to be made so this can be even more successful, I wanted to open the floor to any feedback or thoughts on the survey results, on the survey process, to the commission.
I will never do that again. And thank you, I think it's a great job. It really asked some good questions, got some good feedback, et cetera. But I come from a different perspective on so much of this, in case you can't tell, but so many people in this room are so good-hearted and work in different areas and know things in this, but they don't. The biggest topic is in this community is safety. Pure and simple, to me anyway. Gun safety, now not gun safety, safety from guns and things like that. But I think those in the community and that are within also the administration that really know what's going on the street. And I would say, ask the director, the current director of Group Violence Intervention, GVI, and Officer Haygood to come in here and speak to us about what they see and what's going on in real life. If we break these down in categories, well, what can you do in this type of violence, or this type of lack of safety, or this kind of something? But I think I think the organization would be surprised and also grateful if a presentation or some things like that were made to them. There aren't just, we had 432 of this last year, and now we have 413, those kinds of things. But real life on the streets, what the hell is going on, so that we can all understand safety for our community, be able to better explain it to our constituents or to our neighbors or whatever.
Thank you, and I think this also lends itself to a quick note in that the purpose of the subcommittees and the entire commission is just slightly different, right? A huge commission of 24 people, it's not, and some of you pointed this out in the survey, that 24 people around a table is very difficult for everyone to have a substantive discussion and come up with an action item and execute that action item, because there's just so many voices. The subcommittees, the function of those are for you to take a project, go get it, and take some action. The way that I think the larger commission is most useful is as a transparency and accountability mechanism, and that we really haven't had a chance to do quite yet because Alifa's report hasn't come out yet, right? So between now and the next meeting, we will get Alifa's first report. You will receive it. You will have time to read through it, digest it, and they'll have the entire floor at the next meeting for you to, much taking into account feedback on having one topic per meeting, for you to dig in and ask questions and probe and ask for data and have that real function of being able to dig deeper into what the public report looks like. And that's a perfect use case for this larger commission, right? And maybe another use case is, like you said, Mr. O'Connell, it's having, if there's a particular topic, which send us topics if there are things that you want to hear about, but if there's a particular topic that it would be good for the public and all of you at large to learn more about, we can certainly incorporate presentations on that topic. But I think it would be unrealistic to expect that out of a large commission meeting this size, that we come out having made very quick action items a reality just because of the size of the group. I think we've got to use those subcommittees to get some substantive work done. I would like to, if it's okay with you, speak about the format a little bit more.
Yeah, sure.
We have, if you'll permit us just a couple more minutes. It looked like from the survey results, most people thought an hour and a half was right for the commission meetings. What do you think about the frequency of the meetings, keeping in mind that the mandate of the larger meeting is largely transparency and accountability, and the mandate of subcommittees would be more action-oriented type of mandate? What do you think the frequency should be? And so duration, frequency, and format. Can we get some ideas from you or confirmation of ideas you've already submitted just to put out in front of the whole group?
And I just want to note that in terms of, at least for the formatting, we are already taking into account the survey results in terms of making the meeting more focused and better framing of meeting topics. So just keep that in mind when you're thinking about the changes that you want. Those will already be something that will be in place based off of the survey results.
How often should we meet? Do we like every other month?
Excuse me. I think our next meeting, when we get the report, might dictate that. What is in that report? What is ahead of us? What we need to be working on? So I think maybe that is a decision that's better left after the next meeting.
Great point. Table that.
Is it typical for the independent monitor that's, in this city, mirrored what's done nationally, for it to be an annual report? I mean, to have that long duration before you get any information?
So, honestly, yes, kind of. This is unprecedented because there's not a court overseeing it. But when you have even when you have a court overseeing it, you have and Kuga, you can jump in because I think you have a little bit of experience with this too, but you have a person who is essentially would be in the place of independent monitor who would provide a report to the court and to the public, letting them know, hey, this is happening, we think this needs to be changed. And that typically, my understanding, is annually.
I'm just come from a different place. I'm not answering that question, but from a corporate and whatever, this whole thing of agile and sprints, if I waited a year to give a big report, it's like waterfall project management. If you've gone wrong, there's such a long time.
So the
I think
community
that's actually a
commitment,
good point.
it is, but the community commitment dictates the timing on this, so that's decided, it's done.
Yes.
The timing on the reports, however, we could have reporting that's you just wanna ask questions about, okay, where are you?
Yes.
Even if it's not a formal report, where are you, what's going on, how is community engagement then? That is always fair game. And Alifa does attend, I think this is the first meeting that they've not been here in person.
Yes, this is the first meeting.
They're usually here in person and available to answer all those kinds of questions. So I don't want you to think that, just once a year is your opportunity to ask questions. You'll be able to get data and report and get reports from them whenever you want.
Because quarterly insight, it gives you the opportunity to course correct. You can't, if I waited that long to make a report out of this big magnitude.
And I think there's two good points there. One, what the community commitment requires is the floor, if not the ceiling. So that doesn't mean that things can't change in terms of the ability to provide information for. It's the floor, it's not the ceiling. So that's the first thing. Second, one thing that I think people don't know, and that means Louisville Metro Government and LNPP need to do a better job of it, is that if you go on LNPP's website, there is this portion of this has been approved by Alifa. Been reviewed by Alifa. This is where we are in this process. And so that is constantly being updated. And that is on their webpage in terms of different aspects of what they are going through with the community commitment, with Alifa reviewing it. And so I think maybe we can do a better job of providing that so people know in the community that is happening.
Things are progressing.
Yes. But it's definitely the floor. It's not the ceiling. That's something that we can discuss. That came up in the survey results in terms of how the report outs from Alifa are happening and people being so dissatisfied with it. So that is something that we absolutely can work on.
And also just a point that Ms. First just made, reminded me of is, here we have semi-annual reports. So the first reporting period is actually the first half of this calendar year. Even though Alifa was engaged in October of last year, it's gonna cover the first half of this year. So they will be having, those formal reports will be happening twice a year. Anything else on that topic? So we will table the frequency and duration. We'll do a spot check on that after this next meeting to see how you all feel about that and how often you think it would be useful. Subcommittee chairs. If you need your subcommittee to meet more frequently, even for a shorter duration, check-in time, what have you, on every other week there's a call or something, we can help you facilitate that. Reach out to us, let us know, and we'll facilitate it. We want to do anything we can do to empower you to get work done the way you want it done. So just tell us what you need. We will move on. The very last thing is other business here, and that was agenda setting for the next meeting, which check done. And then also to let you know that the annual report, the first annual report covering the first year of implementation of Safe Louisville, will be dropping in early July. It will be coming to you first before it goes to the rest of the public. So you will get that via email. Our August meeting is going to be pretty crowded with getting through the Incident Monitors report. But if you have any questions, that you have about the Safe Louisville annual report when it comes out, please feel free to email them in, and we'll make sure that we are answering all the questions that you have. And if we need to set up a separate opportunity to have those questions answered, we'll make sure we get that done too. So we want to, unfortunately, everything's just kind of coinciding a little bit at the moment. Do any of you have any announcements or other business that you would like to raise at this time?
A couple of quick comments, if I can be quick, is there any possibility of alternating parts of town where we have this meeting? I say that because of the difficulty of traffic for some of us and so forth, and then also I think that there are some other parts of town that this issue is as relevant, whatever that we want. And then I've always thought, when I accepted to be on here, that when you define our role on here, monitor the implementation, track the progress. To me, I've always thought that ought to be the number 1 and 2 agenda of every meeting, because that's the purpose we're on here. So back to what we were talking about earlier, if I'm explaining to somebody what this commission's about and what I'm doing, if I'm not getting somewhat regular reports, unless I search it out through you all or whatever. So that would be my second comment looking ahead, particularly since they're coming out with this report. Those two ought to be the main 2 topics of every one of our meetings, because that's the purpose that we're on here for. Now, I'm not disparaging the subcommittees, but to me, they're subservient somewhat to those 2 roles in terms of us feeling satisfied of being here and expressing to whoever we talk to what's going on.
Absolutely, thank you. And I think maybe that particular update might be right for an email to come out to the commission members prior to the meeting, so that you're already primed. Here's roughly the latest that you're going to hear, so you can ask some questions about it at the top of each meeting. We consider doing that. Ms. Brown.
I second Mr. Will's comment on that, and I do like the idea about the advanced, updates, so that we can come ready with questions, so we can get through it really quickly. I like that. So we have time for a topic, and other subcommittee chairs don't, come after me. But I do think, as a subcommittee chair, to have a really brief 2-minute, like, hey, this is what we talked about. Because I think that the subcommittees are primed, although we haven't in my subcommittee really gotten a lot of meat going, but we're close. So I would really like to be able to share the broader work of some of those more intentional spaces that we're building, because I think that once we start moving and doing these, interest-based topics and projects or initiatives, I think it will affect smaller parts of the content that we all care about, and maybe inspire others to join committees. Like, if they want to, because we're pretty small, we only have like 4 or 5 people, or just be interested to just know that there's a greater body of work also happening, because we all come in with all of these different representations and things like that. It's not just, a one-off check-in.
I love that idea, and we'll make sure that we incorporate that. One thing that Mr. Lopez said, he unfortunately had to leave. He was going to do a subcommittee report here today. He's going to email out a summary on behalf of the subcommittee to the rest of the commission members, so you guys kind of know what's going on. So I think that's also an option. If there's something major happening in your subcommittee and it's for whatever reason not feasible to present it orally, you can always feel free to compose an email updating everyone. I think everyone would love that. Any other business? Nothing else? All right, everybody. The next meeting is August 20th, 2026. It's at the Jane and Jewel Center, and it's 1 o'clock to 2:30 p.m. At that time, you'll hear from Alifa. We will circulate the materials as early as possible before that to you, so you can dig into it. Thank you very much. We are adjourned.
Through every note, every performance, the arts connect us. The arts connect us through joy and through awe, bridging cultures and generations. From intimate theaters to the grandest stages, the arts bring us together, reminding us that we're never truly alone. When we experience the arts, we experience each other. Kentucky Performing Arts. The arts connect us.
Hey y'all, I'm Attica Scott, former Kentucky State Representative, and you're joining me today on State Watch Nights.
We will continue to provide updates as we have more information.
And you're joining me today on State Watch Nights.